Hello, my name is Corey Brown. I'm a physical education teacher in the Urbandale School District. I teach middle school students. This is my 14th year at Urbandale Middle School, 16th year overall. I have a Bachelor of Science degree from Iowa State University in Exercise Science with a K-12 PE endorsement. My wife Abby and I have three sons, Jack, Logan, and Connor. One of the big reasons that I chose to pursue a graduate degree um, was to continue to have that growth mindset and to seek out ways to improve as a teacher. The topic of this research is self-efficacy and motivation in middle level learners through heart rate technology. Implementing emerging technologies in the physical education setting may lead to effective teaching and allow physical educators to positively impact student learning. This topic is important to me because as a physical educator, I am constantly seeking out ways to implement best practices by hopefully increasing our student engagement, motivation, and joy for being physically active. Uh, Impact of heart rate technology could be that it provides students a meaningful feedback um, opportunity. Our goal as a PE program is to be the best in the nation and to implement best practices into our program. Previous research on the topic of heart rate technology was sometimes difficult to find, but really kind of we're looking at focusing on kind of three big ideas. The first, moderate to vigorous physical activity and physical education, or MVPA. Chen, Kim, and Gao in 2014 found that the implementation of continuous heart rate feedback led to an overall increase in student average heart rate, which in turn increased the overall time students exercised at a moderate to vigorous physical activity level. So essentially, when students had in this study, physical education, their time in that moderate to vigorous physical activity zone was much higher than the days that they did not. The next idea of physical literacy, as defined by Whitehead, physical literacy is the ability, competence, and confidence to be physically active for a lifetime. It's also one of our big goals at Urbandale Middle School is to provide that or to teach students to be physically literate. Sprague Palmer said that physical literacy may be the light at the end of the tunnel. Opportunities may develop confidence, which in turn improves exercise self-efficacy. According to Lundvall, PE or quality PE are core components in developing physical literacy. That final piece that we're kind of looking at was the exercise self-efficacy. Further research on exercise self-efficacy was conducted by Ferkel et al. 2019. It found that when PE teachers created enjoyable learning opportunities, students' confidence grew and they were more likely to lead physically active lifestyles. Sturtz and Gupta 2018 explored the impact of wearable heart rate technology. They placed students into two groups. One group wore heart rate monitors while the second group did not. They found that those wearing fitness tracking devices displayed higher levels of self-efficacy for exercise than those that did not wear fitness trackers. Exercise intensity was higher for those also wearing the heart rate monitors. Lee, Drake, and Williamson examined activities that incorporated wearable physical activity data tracking technologies. Their study found that the group that wore heart rate monitors was more apt to implement and incorporate cardiovascular activities that they themselves created than the control group that did not wear heart rate monitors. Finally, Clapham, Sullivan, Seco Mascalo researched the impact of heart rate technology when paired with a supportive curriculum. They found that students increased their overall physical activity when there was a supplemental curriculum combined with the use of heart rate monitors. The purpose of this study was to determine if the real-time exercise feedback from the heart rate technology would increase exercise intensity in our students. Additionally, the goal of this study was to see how heart rate technology impacted exercise self-efficacy. There were two hypotheses in this study. The first, implementing heart rate monitors with feedback would increase heart rate during cardiovascular activities. The second hypothesis was the addition of heart rate feedback will increase exercise self-efficacy. The results from this study can be used by physical educators to guide decisions on instruction, provide students and parents exercise feedback in a timely manner, aid learners in self-evaluating their exercise intensity and fitness levels. In order to provide my students with a physical education experience that is positive and engaging and meets all learners' individual needs, the proper use of heart rate technology is vital. Additionally, we want to have ways to objectively assess our students and give them those measures so that they can adjust their exercise goals. For this particular study, we used a single subject A-B design, 27th grade students, 60% of which were male, a very diverse group. This group was very similar to kind of the demographics of our building at Urbandale Middle School. We had 8 students that were Caucasian, 4 of Bosnian descent, 3 Hispanic students, 4 African American students, and 2 students that were Asian. The materials used for this study, we used the Heart Zones 3.0 sensors, Heart Zones Bridge, which essentially communicates with the sensor and collects that heart rate data. That data then is stored on a 6th generation iPad, and all the data is stored so we can look at data from multiple class periods throughout the course of the research. The projection we used, we had an Epson projector that was mounted in the ceiling of our gymnasium. For the baseline phase of this study, students wore the Heart Zones 3.0 sensors, but were unable to see that real-time feedback on the projected during the workout. The treatment phase, students then were able to see their heart rate data throughout the class. Data between those two phases was then evaluated. Additionally, to measure exercise self-efficacy, our students took a 10-point, 10-question Likert scale survey on exercise self-efficacy, both on 3 different occasions: baseline, midpoint, and then at the post-test phase. For data analysis on heart rate feedback, we use paired samples t-test to compare heart rates of students receiving visual feedback to those that were able to not have that feedback. In the exercise self-efficacy area, we used a paired samples t-test to compare data on the 10-question exercise questionnaire at baseline, midpoint, and intervention phase. This is an example of a workout that workout summary students would get during that phase where they can see their fitness data. They are able to see their heart rate, time in the moderate to vigorous physical activity zone, calories burned, and then they're also able to see kind of what their heart is doing throughout the workout. All these reports are able to be saved and sent to parents and students. A paired samples t-test found that there was statistically significant increase in overall heart rate from midpoint to post-test when students were able to observe their heart rate feedback. These are just some of the descriptive statistics for that samples t-test. You would see that the baseline heart rate was 138 beats and the post-test was 173 beats per minute. So when students were able to see their heart rates, they had a substantially higher heart rate. A paired samples t-test was conducted on the exercise self-efficacy survey. There was a statistically significant increase in overall self-efficacy from mid-test to post-test. The average score went from 64.5% up to 80.8% on that survey. These are the descriptive statistics for that survey. I learned a number of things through this process. Heart rate feedback can positively impact the students in physical activity. Students may be motivated to work harder when feedback is continuous, and heart rate feedback positively impacts exercise self-efficacy. Impacts for students. Several impacts. Why does this matter? For our students, the research showed that when they are provided with heart rate feedback, they improve their exercise intensity. This will change things for students because our students will wear heart rate monitors every time they're in the physical education setting. For students, or for teachers, data is objective, it's reported, and it's collected. This allows us to guide our decision making and determine whether or not our lessons are effective. You can't manage what you can't measure. Beret found that students are motivated both intrinsically and extrinsically. Some of the limitations from this study, the number of days the data was collected. It might be beneficial to follow one group for an entire semester, allowing us to collect much more data and be that much more precise with our data collection. A future study could measure time in the moderate to vigorous physical activity zone, steps, calories burned. Additionally, the current study only had 2 measures. Future studies could examine other measures such as time in the target heart rate zone. Future recommendations. I believe that future research needs to examine the impact of heart rate monitors in the physical education setting. Additionally, research should explore how heart rate monitors impact self-efficacy. And finally, what impact does quality instruction when paired with heart rate technology have on student learning? Connection to prior research. The current research found that students improve their exercise self-efficacy. This study supports the works of Sturtz and Gupta as heart rate technology positively impacted self-efficacy for exercise. This could be due to the idea that the heart rate technology is a tool that positively impacts exercise behavior. Both studies showed an increase in physical activity and with the addition of heart rate feedback. One could conclude that the heart rate monitors provide motivation to work harder. Exercise feedback provides a motivating mechanism while also creating confidence to maintain physical activity. Lee Drake and this research also supports the research done by Lee Drake and Williamson. Results from their research found that those wearing heart rate monitors were more excited to create and implement cardiovascular activities than the group that did not wear the heart rate monitors. This supports the idea that feedback is a motivating factor in overcoming exercise barriers, and heart rate monitors do provide that meaningful feedback. Marzano did a very similar research study where she studied the impact of displaying heart rate feedback versus no heart rate feedback. Exercise feedback plays a significant role in exercise motivation. The current research supports that of Marzano as students showed significant increases in physical activity level when heart rate data was visible. The results support the notion that feedback allows students to measure their exercise experience and motivates them to work harder. Thank you for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to present my research.